Divine and rich rising gods and goddesses, Southern Goddess here with her big sis Keish. Here we coming back with another segment of emotional control. Last week we discussed accountability. Along with accountability, we wanted to tack on into emotional control because that's definitely a part of accountability. And what is emotional control? You guys can ask this to yourself and answer that question to yourself. But emotional control is the ability to identify and manage and respond to your emotions in a more healthy, clear, and effective way. That's my term for emotional control. Sis, do you want to chime in on that?
No, we can go with that one. It's great.
Okay. So let's talk about how can we control our emotions. And since I opened up the video, I'm gonna give you the floor to speak on that.
Okay, so I have one phrase I want to put out there, but then I'm going to let you go ahead and do yours because I know you have some amazing things down. Um, Not every action deserves a reaction.
Right.
Check your feelings by the people you encounter your day through. Okay. Remember that the energy that you carry could be the energy you pass on to others. You
Mm,
get to choose if that's positive or negative.
yeah.
Okay. I want you all to think about this as we're going through this class because if we're always walking around saying, people are this, people are that, people are the other, I've heard people say, I don't like people, I can't stand people. We're all people,
Right.
peopling. We're trying to figure this out just like the next person. And
Right.
some people seem like they have it all together, but when you pass into their energy, you
Mm,
can feel it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as you're going through this, as we're talking about different things when it comes to emotional control, I want you to sit back and I want you to really think about the emotion that you're sitting in at this moment and the emotions you have encountered throughout your years, whichever ones you can pull up and learn to understand those emotions.
Yeah.
It will change your life.
Yeah, I love that, sis.
Okay.
Like
You
sis,
got it.
I, like sis said, it does affect your surroundings. It's like a ripple effect. Ever like through a rock? You know how people skip rocks and you see the ripples of the rock? That's pretty much what your emotions do. And like she said, everything doesn't need a response. You can delay your response, which, I write some stuff down because when we do these, I get to thinking, okay, this is what I want to say, this is what I want to say. So you can delay your response, give yourself a moment to sit down and process what's going on. Take deep breaths before you respond because you want to make sure that you respond in a more clear, effective, and healthy way. Another way to have what did I say? Understanding emotional control and how to have emotional control is having mindfulness, being mindful of your thoughts, being mindful of your words, because my grandmother used to say the tongue is the most powerful weapon in the world, and your tongue can move mountains. Some people words hold weight. Everybody words hold weight. Just be mindful of your
It's
thoughts.
a two-edged sword.
Yes.
It
Yes.
can work for you and against you at the same time. It casts spells, it pushes energy. You really have to understand that language for us is not something that's old. This is very new. We didn't come to Earth as humans, the first humans just speaking.
Yeah.
It was all done through energy. So that's why we can feel energy quick, but the tongue is a two-edged sword.
I'm telling you. I'm telling I learned on this journey, sis. That's why spelling is called spelling. Like you said, it's spells. Another thing to understand how to control emotional control is understanding your emotions without judging them. Instead of judging yourself, have that moment, sit back and think, why did I feel this way? Why did I have that emotion? Why did I interact or react that way? Have that moment, sit back and think, why did this happen instead of suppressing it? Because a lot of times we'll express some emotion certain type of way and then we're like, ooh, I wish. I shouldn't have done that. And then you feel so guilty. Now you done suppress the emotion. No, don't suppress it. Give it that attention. Give it the effect that it needs by you sitting down and managing it by thinking about it, understanding it. Deep breathing also helps with emotional control as well. Like a lot of breath work exercises. I know sis here has some good exercises for deep breathing. I'm going to link a couple videos below that I do for deep breathing exercises as well that help with emotional control. And view the situation in a positive light. Not every situation is a negative one. What are you getting out of this situation? What lessons is there to be learned in this situation? What we were talking about, sis, yesterday about how you can't look at the glass half empty. You got to change your perspective, look at it as half full. What is the lesson out of this
So
situation?
I don't even use the glass. I use a bowl. I'm
Oh,
serious. I tell
yeah.
people to turn the bowl
Mm. Same.
because you have to understand that even if you ask or want something that's in the light, there is a dark side to it.
Yeah.
So turn the bowl. If you're on the dark side and you turn the bowl enough, you'll start to see the light side.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing with emotional control, you can if you feel like you need to talk to someone, have somebody you could trust. That's somebody you could trust without any bias. That can be straightforward with you. That can sit down and give you the nitty-gritty. They'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, but still with love and support. What you think on
So
that?
um I don't know how I feel about that because sometimes they say, we flock to the people that we're just alike.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So if you're trying to learn, and you won't find out if your friends are trying to grow until you get to a level where you see they're stagnant. I
Mhm.
don't know. I think you need to learn to trust in self.
True.
Learn to trust in self because my all-time understanding is not everybody is out there for you to confide in,
Right.
and you might not know the difference. So
True.
trust in yourself first. And once you start to learn to trust in yourself, it'll guide you to the people that you can confide in. But learn to understand that inner self because it just needs to happen that way sometimes.
It does. And where I was like getting at with that point, if they feel like they still need that support, it could be you can go to a therapist if you would like. Some people
Yeah.
talk to therapists. I know in the beginning I did have a therapist and I was like, I don't need this. I can do this myself. She was telling me stuff that I could breath work and stuff. I was already doing this stuff. So sometimes people may need it. So that's an option.
Yeah. I mean, but you also have to understand when you get yourself into that, you might find that they're telling you what you want to hear, or that they're giving you emotional information based off of their emotions.
Their emotion.
So you have to be able to decipher that as well, because you could be taken away or given something and thinking that you're gonna walk away and you've released it when you could sit and talk to the air, talk to the ether.
Go
Start
out.
to believe that when you're alone, you're not really alone.
Right.
Because if you can, sometimes when you confide in people that aren't ready and they don't know it, it comes back on you. So if we start to understand that we can sit in the wind and talk, there is something out there that's listening. It will hug you. It will confide in you. It will give you the information you're looking for with no bias,
Right.
no misunderstanding. That's where I'm coming from.
Right.
So I do apologize if it's
Oh no, no,
far-fetched.
no.
That's what I
But then these are two different perspectives, and we're just putting it out there, what people could possibly need. Some may need that, some may seek therapy and be like, okay, I tried therapy and it's not for me. And there
yeah.
are ways to release emotions. Some of us are
But
very,
hopefully after they start watching these, they won't need therapy because I don't really I mean, I get it. I'm
yeah,
not saying it's
yeah,
wrong, but what I'm saying is that that's book knowledge.
right. Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That's book knowledge. We
Right,
need people out there that are teaching people about life because that's why they're here. That's why we're here, is
right,
because we're trying to figure life out,
right, right.
you
And
know?
yeah, yeah.
So,
We all have our own journeys and everything. So some of us are very emotional creatures, and at times we need that emotional release.
yeah,
And me and my good sis talked about this yesterday, and I talked about how I have to cry at times to release. And there's nothing wrong with crying to release. Now, some people don't have to do that, but then there
yeah.
are some of us, it's actually very stimulating for us to do that. So, sis, I want you to go ahead and elaborate on your end as to
It's easy. I don't really care for crying.
but
That's
but
very
just
easy.
to share with the audience like your perspective as to why you wouldn't need it, because there are some that don't need it, and those of us who may not understand, where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so most people would think that, oh, she needs to go hug herself or this or that or the other because, that's an emotion that we have to go to. You
Mm.
go through. You see what I'm saying? Okay, when I go through it, it's quick
Right.
and then it's over. Okay. I learned very early as a child that all this crying, it just exhausts me. It makes me feel worse. And I feel dried out later. You see what I'm saying? Then I
Yeah.
might have a headache. So for me, crying has never benefited me. It's always made me feel worn out, dried out, headaches, this or that or the other. So it got to a point where it was just like, if I don't need to cry, why? It's not fixing anything for me. This is me in my life. It's
Right.
my planetary setup. It's who I am. It's not the fact that I think crying is beneath me because I don't care if people cry. If you need that and it's good for you, then do it.
Mm.
It just, for me, I'm very logical. And so as an adult, when I get ready to start crying, it's okay. Is this going to fix anything? No. Why am I crying? You know, that's just one of those emotions that I can't say. I think I've had happy tears one time where I was so happy that I cried, but I don't remember that. Um,
Oh, because like you said, you didn't really need it. So you probably just forgot all about it. It was like, okay, I had that.
Yeah, I didn't. I was kind of shocked. I thought I would cry when my kids were born. I never cried. These situations were intense, so it wasn't a
Yeah.
crying moment. It was,
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
once they got here, it wasn't a cry. It was, oh, she's so cute. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So my emotions run a little bit different than most people, and I just feel like I don't really get overly happy. And if I do, it's more on the inside than you'll see on the outside. I don't jump up and down. I wish I could. I do it in my head. You see what I'm saying? I do it in my head. All of these emotions take place in my head.
Yeah.
And when you're overly excited, you think that it comes out, and I just be like, "Oh, thank you." And people be like, "Are you serious?" And I'd be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Well, what do you want me to do? This is about all you're going to get out of me." Um, so my emotions are very flatline.
Versus me, y'all. I am a crier, okay? And I don't really care because it's healing for me. If I don't cry and get it out that way, I'm find other ways to get it out. And those ways are not healthy. I find crying for me is very healthy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry when I get too angry. I cry when I'm too fucking happy. It's just I'm just emotional being, but I have now the emotional control now, and I understand that it's just a release. And it's actually I was reading on this article about crying and the spiritual meaning of crying. And you're literally just, it's a spiritual release. You know, your tears are water, right? Water is part of your emotions. Water, what we do when we have our, well, I don't want to speak too much on altars, but we pour out libations for our ancestors when we cry and everything. So I look at it like that, and it's definitely a good release. I feel so much better when I cry. Sometimes I actually go outside when I do that, and I do like a grounding yoga pose, which we actually gonna talk about a few yoga poses that helped us and with our journey, and I go out there and I just let it out, just let it cry, and I just feel the emotions coming out. Whatever no longer is serving me, I just give it back to nature, and nature takes care of me. And like she said, the wind blows, you get that hug, you get that kiss. I had a little bee come up and said "Bzz," like that. That was just like Mother Nature giving me a kiss on the cheek. Baby, it's okay, you got this. And I feel like I'm my strongest once that I'm done. Once I'm done crying, I am my strongest. While I'm doing that, it's also great to journal those emotions as well, because you get to look back at those emotions. And now, after you done release that, you have a much better understanding as to why this happened, why that happened. And when I was saying about the yoga poses, there are a couple yoga poses I want to share this book. It's two books that I have actually, sis, that I've been reading. I have this one and I have this one. I have more, but I don't
I
want
have that one. Chakra
which one?
healing.
This one? This one?
Chakra healing.
This one right here?
Chakra healing.
Yeah,
Yes.
this one is really good because it has not only just the yoga poses, it has the crystals you can use, type of foods that you can eat, the oils you can use. What else does it have? Oh, it has so many. The dietary plan, thinking about your behavior. I love this book. This is a very good book if you want to start with the healing of the chakras and delving deep into that. But I do want to share in this book here. This is a grounding pose. This pose here, this is a good grounding pose here that helps with releasing.
You
Very
should take some pictures of it and insert it in there.
in the
Yeah.
okay. Okay, but this picture here is really good. I can definitely do that or find a video and incorporate the
You
video of
could do that.
doing that too. And
What's the name of the pose?
oh yes, this pose is called the bound angle pose. This is
And what energy center or what emotion does that control?
It's in your root chakra. So where
Okay.
all of the lower extremities, where our sacral chakra is right here. This is where all your creativities and your emotion here, and this is your root chakra. Root
And
chakra,
what emotions is that going to help control for healing it?
now, for me, stress, it relieves a lot of stress and anxiety for me as well. And when I do the pose, I can feel that stress and anxiety just coming down off of me, the tears flowing out. And you can literally feel it in like the growing vicinity right here, where
Okay.
yeah, energy is releasing itself. And that's for grounding pose. And this is also another pose here. It's called the garland pose too. Everyone should know this pose too. I don't know if everyone's seen this, but it's a phenomenal pose. That pose right there, see how their feet is planted to the ground. Be outside, touch the ground and ground, and you can feel all the energy centers right here with your sacral root chakra as well as your solar plex. You can feel it actually pulling down the energy that you need to release out of there. So this is a good book to start with if you want to release.
So what she's showing you is energy release. And if you know what energy release to help you do, emotions is energy in motion. So it's the energy that you're putting out. Okay? The more energy that's put out, like I said once before, the energy you're carrying is the energy you're putting out. So by releasing your energy centers and raising your frequency and your vibration, by being able to go back and pinpoint your emotions that run through you frequently, even if you have an emotional shield of when you walk out the house, how you want to portray yourself. Once you start to change the energy within yourself, your emotions will start to change too. You still want to be cognizant and aware. That's where this is coming from with consciousness of the emotions that you're carrying around, because A more conscious person is a person who can encounter anything and deal with it and not take it back with you. Negative responses on energy brings negative, you put more negative in your future. When you learn how not to take emotion into dynamics, you get to um, start to manifest your future instead of taking and putting more cycles in your future. So it helps when you see the yoga poses to understand where the energy is coming from, to understand that you're trying to release energy, release negative energy while bringing in positive energy so that when you go out in the world, you spread more positive, not by what you say, but by the energy you carry on yourself.
Creating that positive ripple effect. And you also mentioned something yesterday we were talking about, sis, about the colors that we wear too as well. Could you re-elaborate on the colors and how they do affect our emotions?
Um, So your the colors that you wear, like pay attention to the colors you wear often. And it might not be so much as wanting to understand, okay, do I need to change my wardrobe up? But it will be something to start to show you maybe what you're trying to heal. Like you have people who wear a lot of red. I get it. There are people who just love red. But
Mhm.
that also might mean, because that's the energy of the root chakra, it also might mean that it's trying to heal that area. So when you go in and you do some of these poses, you might see that some of the things or some of the colors that you wear all the time um, are saying something to you. As well as if you're working on your root chakra and you want to do it throughout the day, you can eat red fruits and vegetables to help get that generated and moving because not everybody's chakras are moving like they should be. And so that's a good way to start healing it. It's a good way to keep them open and keep them viable. And that's why if you used your body more or less as your food pyramid, it'll tell you what you should eat and when you should eat it.
Right. Yeah, I love how you wrote that down, sis. I love how you wrote
Thank you.
it down. The colors do matter, and I do eat my chakras, if that makes sense, because it's very healing. It's very healing to eat them chakras, because when you eat your chakras on top of doing the poses, you feel so liberated. I feel so liberated, and it's so healing. And it was something else that you had discussed, the human design, talking about the centers, the undefined and defined centers. Sis, we discussed that too as well. That's probably why some people may have those emotional roller coasters because that center may be undefined, correct?
No,
I'm wrong.
that center is defined.
Fine. Okay.
People who have a defined emotional solar plexus are people that are here. Um, their energy is theirs in that center. So their emotions, when they're in a group,
Hmm.
are theirs.
Right.
And these people could, not all of them, could have an influctuation of emotions throughout a day. Okay. When I encounter people that have a defined emotional solar plexus, the first thing I tell them is journal your emotions throughout the day. You see what I'm saying? People who have undefined emotional solar plexus, you're pulling in other people's emotions when you're in a crowd and you're amplifying them. You understand? So it's a give and take. That's why I said you could potentially be throwing off energy, and then it's all about perception after that.
Right. Right.
If
Right.
I'm an empath and you're a defined emotional solar plexus and then you have an attitude and then you have to deal with me and I have to deal with you, that's going to be a confrontation if I'm not aware of how to deal with my emotions.
Right.
Or it could be even worse if the other person doesn't know how to deal with their emotions. I call it the demon in the room. I've watched it. I worked in a place where I seen emotion jump from one person to the next person to the next
Yeah,
person to the
me
next. I've
too.
seen it happen so quickly. Now I call it the demon. It's not. It's not. So don't take this literal. You see what I'm saying? But it is energy that is very negative that has come across everybody that not even
Oh,
touch. You
please.
don't have to touch them. Yes.
It's
You
like
don't
a
have to touch them.
yeah.
You just have to say something to them, and
Yeah.
you see it jump. And
Oh
I used to tell the people I work with, look at the demon walking around the room.
yeah.
Because I was like, it's not coming back here. And at that time, it was funny. I was not aware of all the emotions. I had no clue about emotional solar plex, none of this. Okay.
Right.
So when it encountered me, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I can handle this person. And then I go from 0 to 100 like that. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, what the heck?
Woo!
Because I'm about to rip your head off.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I understand these things. So when I encounter it, I just tell myself this person woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I don't have to deal with you.
At all.
I don't like the way that emotion feels anyways.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So therefore, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go.
Yeah.
Now, this is the problem. You all can hear how strong my voice is. Okay. And then it sounds louder to you than it does to me.
Yeah.
So a slight influx in my voice, and I already sound like I'm like rah rah rahing at you. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I had to learn that there's no response needed. You got it.
Yeah. It's okay
If
to
I can keep my emotions at a soft enough level, my voice won't rise. So you got it. But once you have full on emotional control, you'll start to realize the people that you come into contact aren't those type of people.
yeah. Yeah.
So
That's definitely true. And then back to the voice thing, my mom used to work in the factory a lot. And I was like, Mom, why are you talking so loud? She said, I can't help it. I worked in the factory. So I had to understand she had to yell in the fact because the factory was loud and she just got accustomed to speaking loud.
yeah,
And so
mine is just natural.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I can get that. And like you said, there goes the demon. It's like a domino effect. You can see it happening. I do
Yes.
remember the last job I worked at, and I could see that domino effect happening. But me,
Yep.
I'm just in my own world. Aura, high mighty. People used to say, I'm coming to look for you. Your aura is just so bright. I just love it when you come in because you just change the mood. And then my team lead even asked me, she said, how is this not affecting you? Why would it? I'm looking, that's not my business. My business is me. Long as I control my own emotions, that's all that mattered to me. Now, if you got something going on, sis, like you said, you don't need a response. You can walk away. You can
Yeah.
walk away. Now, if they keep antagonizing you, coming towards you, talking about, hey, 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 and I done gave you 3 chances, you just asking to wake up the beast, baby. Like, come on.
Well, and understand too, as adults, we're told that these are things we should have already known, but who was teaching this to us? What parent? I mean, if you had a parent who had emotional control, hey,
Yeah,
I will hug you. You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
But most of us didn't grow up with parents that had emotional control. So I tell my kids that we're just kids that have grown up.
yeah. We still big
I
old
mean, you can
babies.
see
Yeah.
it. You can still see high school in the workplace.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but I also get it that that's the way the dynamic was set up.
Yeah.
So we have to understand we don't get to see a lot of emotional control. But if we can teach ourselves to have it now, then we'll be able to teach our kids and our grandkids how to have these things because it's beneficial in our lives. If you can think rationally without having your emotions well up and you're getting so heated on the inside that you're moving without thinking, because that's what we do,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the situation is never great. When we move with haste, the situation never turns out great. Nobody thought about it. They're just moving because they got all this emotion and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So we got to learn that we have to start doing these things so we can make our children better. You see, that's how we have to do this. And yeah, it takes a little work. It's not hard. It may be a challenge.
Yeah. It may be a challenge because that's what they custom to.
Taking time out of the day, when I say do some of these things, do it as a family, do it as a unit,
That would be
do it as if your family is disconnected because work, and school and you've lost your way. I got kids, I need them to stay in the room when I come home because I need me time. Okay, well take this as family time
Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
and ask your kids how was their emotional connections, at school. Checking in on them in these ways. At first, it'll be weird. They're not going to understand. But if you sat down and you talk to them and say, hey, look, we're going to start trying to practice these things.
And so, sis, you practiced those with your daughters? Because I do this with my daughter, and she's 7. Some stuff
I
she may.
only have one daughter that's with me.
Okay.
Yeah. My other daughters, so one of my daughters is like me. Her emotions don't fluctuate too quickly. If you make her mad, then you've made her mad. But most of the time her emotions are just like mine, pretty much flatlined. I have one daughter that's like you, she cries. She's a Cancer moon. I allow her to have her emotions. Um, and she has come to her own understanding that it's okay to have her emotions and she knows how to deal with them as well. My middle daughter, which is the one that's here with me, she's had a drastic change, but it's not just been this. We've been working on this for a while. But you have to understand these are younger people who
Right.
have a lot of fast moving energy within them, and learning how to have emotional control at this age, at their age, is great.
Right. Right. And that's why I
It's amazing.
started talking to my 7-year-old. Like I'm saying, like some stuff she may not fully comprehend, but I make sure that, hey, mommy just want to check in with you, where we at, how you feeling, and she'll tell me, and I'll listen. Okay, baby, why you feel that way? And we just have these little mommy me times. We do mommy and me time all the time. We go outside and play together. I play Barbie dolls with her too. We'll do arts and crafts together, go to the park, and still we have that emotional support. Now, if I ever feel like I got out of line as a parent, I might have said something I shouldn't have said due to my own emotions. I go back and I check myself and I apologize to my daughter. That's the accountability aspect of that. I go back and do that. But you were mentioning something about our families, some of our families didn't have emotional control. And I was thinking that's a generational type of ripple effect there.
So
And
me and you
hmm
are in two separate generations.
hmm
The generation before me was raised to be seen, not heard as children. So where do you think that put their emotion?
mm. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
And if you watch close enough, you'll get to see the way they try to exude dominance
hmm
and power because of age, because that's what they were taught.
Yep.
Okay. And when we have kids, we only know what we've seen.
Right. Right.
So we can only raise our kids based off of what we've seen happen around us, what adults did to kids around us, and we pick and choose. Okay. We pick and choose what we consciously, I'm sorry, goodness, it didn't want to come out. We pick and choose consciously what it is we want to change. Okay. And then when we grow up and have kids and they do something, we revert back to what our parents did or what we've seen adults around us do, and it's an automatic expression.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is moving. This is that action that has a reaction, because the only thing you thought is about, okay, if they would have did this to my parents, what would my parents would have done? And
Mhm.
I'm going to do it to them.
You hear
Okay.
that a lot. A lot of them say, "Oh, my mama would have did this, or my grandmother wouldn't have this." I'm just like, but what did
Yes.
you do
Yes.
as the new
Yes.
parent, as in the new
So
generation?
you change it, you tweak it a little, but not that much. That's why each one of our generations is a little bit softer than the last. And if you hear the older generations talk about the newer generations, the first thing you hear is these kids don't want to do nothing. These kids, and it's hurt come down all the way,
Yeah.
because one generation was a little bit harder than the one that it brought up. You see what I'm saying? So if kids were seen and not heard, then the generation that raised me was more or less like, we'll hear you some.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? but a lot of the other aspects still took place. We weren't, there's still a programming that is there. It wasn't as harsh because at this point you've got, I grew up in a different type of environment, so I don't want to speak for the masses. For me, I had two parents there, but the things that I seen, the dynamic was off. You
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? You got a little bit of the I had a brother. You got a little bit of the he doesn't need to do that because he's a boy. You need to do this. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't recognize it for real, because honestly, I didn't think I would encounter any of that.
Right,
So emotionally, we take from our parents and then we distribute it how we want to when we raise our kids. But there's still no emotional control there. So we lack that in ourselves because we didn't see it.
right.
And so because we lack that in ourselves, unconsciously we turn around and we lack that with our kids
Yeah.
until we become conscious of it.
Yeah, and that was my way of understanding. I never knew my biological father. So I
I
understood
mine.
yeah, we kind of relate on that. I had to take my child self out the situation and put my adult self in the situation when it came to why things happened the way they did with my mom and my dad, you know,
Mhm.
just understanding it. And then when I put myself in those shoes, what was life like for them at this age? And I was able to have a better understanding as to where they was coming from. Even my grandmother had told me her dad was a lot harsher than him. Because, my grandmother was a cusser. Okay. She said cuss words I didn't know existed. But, it was her way of showing love because that's, like you said, that's all she knew. But you can tell just by her speaking about her father, she was a much more softer than her dad. So you can see generational that, the emotional control and whatnot is slightly there. It's getting better, but it's by the generations. By the generations. And so I'm grateful to even know that knowledge and grateful to be the one in my family to break that curse within our in our family because I love being able to sit down and have those moments with my little girl. She's a cancer son, so my baby, her emotionals can be all over the place at times, but as her mom and I'm, training myself to ensure that I have the proper emotional control, I'm gonna teach it to my daughter. She'll learn how to do meditation. We've done meditation too. I've done those little forks, tuning forks.
Yep.
I've laid her down and did the tuning fork. She enjoys that. Anything that's healing to help her emotional control, to help that support. I'm like, okay, my baby likes
Yeah.
you into this.
Since you said there were 6 questions you brought up.
Oh yes, I do. And it's in a video too that I'm going to share. I need to go get my book, Ashley. I don't have the book sitting here. But there are 6 questions I do want to share. Let me go get that book. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'm right here. Thought I had all the books. Didn't have all the books. But I got the book right here. Now, this is a video that I had seen on Facebook, and I'm gonna share the link down below. There's also another book, another video that I want to share where this young guy is sharing the different types of effects of emotions and what it does to your body. So I'm going to insert the link to that. They are Facebook videos that I found, and just take a look at that. But this one here is 6 questions. Now she's talking about quantum jumping. However, I looked at it as it could be a perfect way for you to journal, use these as journal prompts to help you with your emotional control. So it's you sitting down with you. You're having a board meeting with 6 different versions of yourself. One version is your inner child, one is the teenage you, one is your young adult self, one is the broken version of you, the other one is the you that you don't show to the world. It's the one that wears the mask that you hide behind the world doesn't see. And the other one is the future you. The present you is showing up to this board meeting. Now, these 6 questions I want you guys to think about and use them as journal prompts to help you with your emotional control. First question: what does each of you need to hear right now? Some may need comfort, some just want to be seen, some need love, and some just want answers. Allow yourself to speak. Allow the different versions of yourself to speak with this question. 2, what have you been carrying for so long, and who asked you to carry it in the first place? This allow you to release whatever doesn't resonate with you, whatever that isn't yours, but it was put on you. The third question: if you truly, fully trust that everything is going to work out for you, what would you do next? This is you allowing your future self to speak. You're basically telling you, this is what I want, this is what I have, this is what I am. And with this question alone, this is my next move. You're talking about your now, what exists now, and planning your future. So allow your future self to elaborate on that. 4, which version of me have I been ignoring? But they hold the keys. And what they mean by holding the keys is some hidden truths deep within you. Maybe there's some answers you want questions, excuse me, maybe there's some questions you want answered, but it's wedged deep within you, but you haven't taken the time to sit with yourself and fully ask yourself, what am I ignoring? Be 100% honest with yourself. Let's go back to our first video. This is also part of having that accountability as well. Question 5, what have I been too afraid to say out loud, because once I do, everything change? Say it now. Get it off of you. No matter what it is, get it off of you. Say it now without judgment. Remember, be gentle with yourself. And the last question: what does the version of me who already made it and who has already figured it out doesn't tolerate anymore? When you ask yourself that question, go back and ask yourself, why am I still tolerating it right now? These are 6 questions that I saw on Facebook watching this video, and I answered these questions myself. And I was able to look at myself at a much more different light. It was actually very healing for me. And I was able to have more of emotional understanding of myself, as well as the surroundings that I'm in and that I have been in, and how did it help shape me to be the goddess that I am today. So I
Yeah.
wanted to give you guys those prompts. Is there anything you wanted to add, sis?
Yeah, so with those questions, make sure to identify and acknowledge the emotion behind each one of them. So this would be a step-by-step process. You want to make sure that you're identifying the emotion one so that you can learn, because some emotions feel the same. Sometimes fear and excitement feel the same. So what you want to do is you want to sit with that emotion to be able to identify whether it's fear or excitement. And then you want to also make sure that you acknowledge that emotion and understand that emotion so that when you encounter that emotion, you know how to deal with it. There'll be more steps. There'll be more steps for you to be that will give you to be able to pick and choose the ways that you can isolate and understand the emotions that you're going through. Because once you can isolate them and understand them, then you can understand why they're happening. This eliminates triggers, misunderstandings, situation, brings situational awareness in. So it keeps you conscious of who you are on a day-to-day basis. And these are the things we should be more focused on than some of the things we're actually focused on. We have so many distractions around us that we react instead of slowing down and thinking about it, understanding, why do I feel like I need to react?
Right.
Why do I feel like I need to say something so harsh to somebody that it tears them down.
Right.
And most people say, well, that's how I grew up. Gotcha.
Mm.
But also understand that you can change that. You
Hmm.
can't complain about the way things are going in your life if that's the way you grew up.
Yeah.
Because how do you get better if you didn't grow up with better? You have to change things. So understanding where your emotions are, what they're doing to you, where they're taking you, what they're stopping in your life, the verbiage that you're using, um, all of this plays a hand in what you're looking at around you. Not to say that you got to have this overly flamboyant life. You want the life that you want. And I don't have a right to tell you what that life is. But you have a right to be able to formulate that life the way you want to. And through emotional control, self reflection, and accountability, that will get you at least conscious enough to where you can learn to start manifesting, which is what everybody, that's the new word that everybody throws
Word
out there.
nowadays. Yeah.
Manifesting. Well, manifesting is energy that's been put in motion to set the ball rolling for you to be able to see this return come back to you. But if you're always pushing out negative, 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 that negative emotion, that negative frequency, talking to yourself in a negative mind frame, that's only going to bring you more negative, more negative, more negative. So we want to learn to bring in the positive. We want to learn to push on positive, because the more positive energy you push out, the more gratitude you get back in. Because although you think sitting in a church and passing around a plate is tithing, actually, when you get outside your house and you give to your neighbor, like it says, and you can, it doesn't have to be money. Energetically, you pass on tithings to the person next to you. In the Muslim religion, is called sadaqah. You push that on to other people, and there you're giving goodness, which brings in blessings. And if you don't believe it, then try it.
Oh, I love that, sis. I love that. Did you have anything else you wanted to share, sis, before we
Um,
wrap?
so there's 3 steps that I want you all, if some of the stuff, because sometimes we need simple, something we can do. There's 3 steps that I wrote down for you to at least start being able to recognize um, what you're going through, your emotional state. So one is stop and recognize what the feeling is. Okay, why do I feel this way? What is this feeling? Just ask the question. You don't have to answer it, you'll get the answer.
Let it come.
Once you recognize, huh?
I said, let it come to you.
Yeah. Once you recognize the emotion, sit with it, understand it, shake hands with it, whether it's positive or negative. Understand that emotion within you, because it feels different for each person. You can't tell somebody how they feel because you don't know.
Right.
Only they know how they feel.
Right.
So the third is to ask yourself, what am I feeling and why am I feeling this? And you can take this as deep as you need to go. It's best to do these in a meditative state,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that you can reflect. Um, and even if you're new to meditation, in the flow, if you paint, like Southern Goddess said before, if you paint, as long as you can get in a place where your mind starts to quiet itself. I'm for people who have monkey mind, to understand what that means is to be able to catch the gaps in between your thoughts. The more you catch them, the larger they get. But I do understand that there are some people where the gap is so tight that you can't see it. I've been there. I understand it. Um, but take the time with self to reflect on these. Meditation, self reflection. This is one that I came up with: contemplation of perception and intention.
I love
Because this is something that we don't bring up a lot. Contemplation. You want to sit down and contemplate. If you have to write it down in a journal, write it down. But contemplate what perception and intention means to you. Because I remember the first time I came up against perception, and I was like, why do I care what somebody else perceives? I'm not standing in their shoes to see it from their position. You see what I'm saying? And they're putting this onto me.
Right.
Know my intention before you put your perceptions on me. So you want to contemplate these things so that you understand your perception versus somebody else's intention could be two different things.
Yeah.
You're not a fly on the wall. But this will also help you to encounter and understand what this can do emotionally to not only yourself, but to other people. We're starting to become cognizant. We're
Right.
starting to be conscious and understanding. You're understanding yourself and you're understanding other people. So then we become understood all together. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I love that.
And then self dialogue.
Mm.
Track your self dialogue in your journal. Now, all of this stuff in your journal can be different sections for the day, but watch how you talk to yourself. Your emotions have a big deal with how you talk to yourself.
Subconscious mind is listening. It's listening.
Yes, it's always listening. And it's what projects our lives out on the big screen. That's why some people's lives don't look like everybody else's. And they have a problem with why does your life look so blah, blah, blah. And you know,
Yeah.
so what we do with that is we judge people based off of materials because it's what you can see, taste, touch, and hear. If I can see you got this and you got that and you got the other, it looks like you've got it together. That's the illusion. You perceive that I'm doing great. But my intention behind this stuff wasn't great. It was just to give you the perception that I'm doing amazing. But in my head, I've got all the material things on the outside, but in my head, I'm not stable.
Mm-hmm.
You see this. We see this all the time. We have allowed self dialogue to be what other people put upon us. We emotionally internalize it. And then at that point, we start talking to ourselves that way. So it goes back to the child who was supposed to be seen and not heard. They were never allowed to understand how to deal with these emotions. So when they grew up and they became parents, they were tyrants. It's my way, not your way. If I can't have my way, I'm gonna throw a tantrum like a 5-year-old kid, not understanding their emotions.
Right.
We've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
at one point, we thought it was okay. We thought that was acceptable. We knew not to mess with our parents.
yeah.
So we thought. But then you start to understand that, okay, if one of us grows up, then what the heck is this?
Right.
So it brings me to the thing of adulting. Who knows how to do it? We're all making it up based off of what we took and didn't take from our parents.
Mhm.
So show up for yourself. Start journaling. Start doing a little bit of meditation. Start tracking your inner dialogue to yourself. Start contemplating perception versus intention. Understand these things. Take some of this stuff that we're putting out here to you because we're not putting it out here for anything other than to help you better yourself because these things helped us better ourselves. It's not about the materials and the flash and the glitz and the glam. It's about the person that sits within here because it doesn't matter what your life looks like on the outside. It's how you perceive it on the inside. And then that's how you will feel on the inside.
Yeah.
So if you
Good.
want true understood happiness, you understand these things. And once you understand them, you won't look at what you have as less than somebody else. You'll say, this is what I have. This is what I can have for myself. I
Right.
am grateful to have a roof over my head. I'm grateful to be able to put something in my stomach in the daytime. I am grateful to be able to move around and breathe and upgrade myself every day, not monetarily, not materialistically. Not to say you don't have to have those things, but to say that if you upgrade your soul and your spirit, your purpose in this life changes, and then society is no longer got a hold of you.
At all. I always say your inner peace is the biggest success, man. Biggest.
Oh, I forgot one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
Salt baths.
What you?
Salt baths. Salt baths.
Oh,
Take
yes.
them.
Yes.
Take them.
Yes.
Take them. Take them. Salt bath.
Cleansing. Cleansing. Oh, yes. It's very good. Salt cleanses and purifies all that negativity. I even do it for my daughter. Well, I love that, sis. I wrote that down too. The one about the perception and intentions. I love that. And I just want everyone to know I can't speak for my big sis here, but I will say I'm doing these videos is also teaching me and it's helping me grow as well. So I'm learning right with you guys. I'm still growing and elevating right with you guys. So don't ever think that we just oh we never stop learning and growing. We're still learning and growing right with you guys and sharing what is helping us. And I do want to share two affirmations. I know affirmations may not be for everyone, but if you are a person that loves affirmations, there are two affirmations that I do want to share that can help you on this journey. One is I am enough. I've always been enough, and I believe in me. The second one is nothing nor no one can disturb my peace unless I let it or them. So be mindful of those affirmations. They are very useful. I say them to myself daily. That and three other affirmations. They work for me because it's my way of programming my subconscious mind and getting me out there and getting to my highest mood. But I say them when I wake up before I speak to anybody. I say them before I go to bed. So I just wanted to share that. You had
I
anything?
have one.
Oh, an
I
affirmation?
do have one. I
Okay.
have one affirmation, and
Yes.
it's the one that I live by.
Okay.
Everything is always working out for me.
I love that
So
everything.
this one came from Abraham Hicks, it's not mine. And I remember when Abraham Hicks said, "Put this on the dashboard of your car. Everything is always working out for me." If you, these are affirmations that in a hard stint of time when you're trying to decide on, is this a bad emotion? Should I go just say everything is always working out for me? I am enough and walk away and then decide later.
I love that. I wrote that down too. I love that. I wrote that down too. Okay, sis. Well, if we don't have anything else, sis, I'm gonna just go ahead and wrap it up.
I
Um,
think we
I
wrap it up.
All righty, guys. This has been a good topic. I love this conversation. I got some notes from you, sis. So thank you for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom as well. And guys, those videos, I'll have them linked down below so you guys can check them out for the deep breathing, the yoga poses, and the two Facebook videos that I was talking about. Any last remarks, sis?
No, I think we'll get some meditation out there. I think I have some videos as well of my own. So we'll get some out there and we'll start posting those as well. So look for more from us. I mean, why not?
Of course, we'll be back here next week.
Let's make you a better person so life can be amazing.
All of that, all of that. Don't forget, guys, find your light and fix your crown. Peace, family.